Hello and welcome to Merlins Brick News, the weekly show on all things brick building where we talk about set updates and announcements from all the major brands, MOCs of the week, and usually LEGO ideas entries as well. However, this week we have none. Anyhow, information is presented as always by setdb.org, the best source for set information on the internet. And this is where we are going right now. Going to start as always in alphabetical order with BlueBrixx updates. Anyhow, BlueBrixx has announced that they have two availabilities now. The 105653, that is for the Rock Castle. Another extension, it's the Smith or the Smithy in this case. It has 359 pieces, and BlueBrixx is asking for 18 bucks. I mean, it's a small extension. You can actually include it into the wall section. So as you can see, you have the two pins, tech pins on the left side, and this is the typical wall design, as you can see here as well. So it's like a small extension. What I think a lot more people will be excited about is the wall expansion, which is of course a kit where the idea is that you can of course buy it multiple times. I mean, it doesn't make much sense to have like 5 Smiths in there, but you can of course buy the wall expansion, which has 421 pieces, and BlueBrixx is asking for 25 euros. That is actually quite a lot for BlueBrixx, let's say, price range. We do not know at this point in time what kind of pieces are in there. Is this more like Kun Long pieces or GoBrixx pieces? We do not know. However, if you go at price cents per gram, by the way, these are all, as always, euro prices, including tax over here. That's how we do things. Anyhow, 4.1 cents per gram gives you already good indication, as we have seen with the Rock Castle before that. They have a lot of very large pieces in there, right? There's a lot of usually 2x6 bricks and stuff like that, in large quantities in there to build the walls, which are quite massive. They have also 4x4 panels in there on the outside part, like as you can see here on the left side. But what you can also clearly see is that like it's a lot of bricks. These walls are massive, which is great. However, that also makes this whole thing a bit more expensive. So long story short, out of the 5 announced expansions, we have now 3 available. So this wooden wall is not available, palisade, I'm not sure how exactly it is called. Then the large gatehouse is not yet available, and I think there was one other one. Anyhow, 3 expansions you can now buy, and with that we are moving on to one of BlueBrixx vehicles, the municipal garbage truck. 105687 is now available as well. It has 568 pieces, and BlueBrixx is asking for 27 euros, which is 4.7 cents a piece for a vehicle. That's actually a pretty good price, not too shabby. And yeah, I don't know how it is in other countries, but this thing looks a lot like what typically is driving around over here in Central Europe. So that's a quite typical design. I guess it's a Mercedes Actros. I'm not 100% sure. Anyhow, BlueBrixx, of course, usually does not have an agreement with any of the truck manufacturers, so it's just the truck. But long story short, looks nice. They have 6x6 tiles in there. I think 4 overall, so that's quite impressive. Piece quality, of course, we do not know, but it looks quite nice, and I think it should be a nice extension to your city. And with that, we're moving on to Cobi. And Cobi has done something that is quite astonishing, actually. I mean, it's not a big surprise. Cobi in recent years more and more had a product strategy that went in many very similar direction than LEGO, by means of more expensive and larger sets, more pieces, more money, basically. And of course, LEGO is very successful with very expensive sets like 500 euros plus, and I think this is what Cobi now wants to try out as well. So what they have done, actually let me make this picture a bit bigger. They have announced on their Instagram channel, which of course is still quite early, that mid-September they want to release a Tiger tank, actually the 131. That's I think the last one that is, I think, still fully functional. I think it's in a museum in southern England, I believe, somewhere in Britain. I think it's in England, not 1% sure. Anyhow, they have decided to make a set out of this one that has almost 8,000 bricks, 6 kilograms of material, 70 centimeters in length. So this thing is outright crazy. It's an enormous enormous vehicle. Actually, originally thought that this is like an April Fool's joke, but it's a bit too late for that. So I think they are serious and they really want to build this thing. They have a lot of information in here, also on this Instagram post, like how this thing is going to look like on the inside. I think they even traveled to the museum to make these pictures. So yeah, I think this is going to be interesting. Price, of course, is the big question. My guess is somewhere in the ballpark of 500 euros plus for this one. And yeah, personally, I think for me personally, it would be much too big. Besides that, Tiger tanks are not really my cup of tea. But for all of you tank enthusiasts, this could be the set. This could be like the holy grail of brick build tanks. Anyhow, let's come to something real, a set that actually got available, at least over here in Europe, and that is Battle of Arras 1940 Matilda versus Panzer 38, the 2284 by Cobi. It has 1015 pieces. So this is like a diorama. I think that's the idea, that you have two tanks in there. Like I said before, Matilda is actually very interesting because that is a tank that Cobi, interestingly, I was really astonished when I checked this in the SetDB, that actually they haven't in modern times, means modern tanks designs by Cobi, this in recent years, they haven't done one. I mean, this is one of the most famous tanks, I guess, of the Second World War, right? At least from the British side. And I mean, they have done a Mark II, but as you can clearly see from this model, actually don't have a release date. But this is a very old set, the 2445. And then they did the 2495. But yeah, just look at the color scheme. This is an entire different animal than what they do nowadays. So if you will, this is the only modern version of a Matilda tank. But yeah, anyhow, you have also Panzer 38 in there, and of course a small building. So I mean, I've said in the past that there are a couple of companies that are doing these dioramas, like BlueBrixx has done a lot of them. There are two, I think, by Happy Build / Pangu. And I mean, they are great from the building perspective, but of course they don't have, as the tanks, of course, are lacking compared to Cobi's. That's why back in the day I always said, hey, you guys just focus on the diorama and let Cobi do the tanks, and then you have a perfect hybrid, right? And here I think it's a little bit the other way around. The tanks, of course, are Cobi quality tanks, but the building is a bit shallow and a bit simple, to say the least. But long story short, if this is your cup of tea, having a diorama and two tanks, 1015 pieces, scale 1/35, over here in Europe, you can get this for around 58 euros. With that, we're moving on. We have what Cobi calls the war locomotive or the Kriegslokomotive, Baureihe 52, class 52 locomotive, 6281. We have now availabilities over here in Europe. Cobi is listing this one for 200 bucks. And in retail, you see this now starting to get available in the 160, 170 euro ballpark again over here in Europe. So there's a lot of debate in the train community, and I'm personally not the biggest train enthusiast. Like, what is this color scheme? So first of all, there have been two color schemes. One was, I think, when it came out of factory to make pictures, Fotolackierung, I think in German, that was in this gray. And then there was like a war painting in a dark gray tone, was actually what was kind of suggested by the German Air Force during World War II when these things were built. Okay, we should paint these in a dark gray tone, you know, against plane attacks, against bombings, etc. So, however, this is like the light gray version. At least that's what a lot of people believe, including myself. It is too light for this war paint, but at the same time, Cobi is calling it the war locomotive, which they are not doing for the black and red one. So it's a bit confusing, but at the end of the day, I think it doesn't even matter that much. I guess it matters for folks who are really into trains to have this as authentic as possible. But long story short, I think if you want to have a locomotive, a steam locomotive, and I can say, because I've built the 6280, it's a beautiful, beautiful model. It cannot be electrified, at least not in an easy way. It's not designed to go around corners, etc., etc. It's a pure display model, but it looks beautiful. And I think if you ever say, hey, I don't want to have all the standard painting, you can see this here down below, the 6282 and the 6280. I'm not into this black and red that so many German locomotives have, but instead want to have something different, then here you go, in a light grayish tone. Anyhow, with that, we're moving on to Funhole, and here we have now availability, both internationally, i.e. shipping directly from China or from Amazon. In this case, I have price here from Amazon US, but it's also listed at other Amazon stores. I think Amazon UK and Amazon Central Europe, i.e. Germany. I think these are the 3 Amazon shops where Funhole has stock. But anyhow, long story short, it's now available. I've talked about the set, I think, last week. I've personally built it. It's a beautiful set, a bit, let's say, lacking when it comes to stability in the roof area. So I would definitely not recommend this set for kids, for smaller kids at least. It's not easy to take off the roof. In a nutshell, which you can do. It's a little bit like a modular, but it's really not easy to do. And of course, you have all the cables in there, which are very thin and very, very fragile. So I keep repeating, the weird thing about this thing is that Funhole calls it medieval. It's clearly a pirate setting. So I guess that's like at least 200 years after what people usually call medieval. But anyhow, and there's a dude in here who has a saxophone, which is an instrument that I think was invented in 1840. So yeah, it's a bit all over the place when it comes to timeline, but nevertheless, it's a nice set. It looks great. Lighting is perfect as always. So Funhole is really making a lot of fun here. And of course, a mountain of stickers, but not really necessary if you ask me. With that, we're moving on to Lego. And of course, the big event around the corner is May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. And there are a couple of interesting things this year. So a lot of stuff is like last year. However, the biggest difference, I think, is that the UCS set that is by tradition released on May the 4th is now also available May the 1st already. So I think in the past, last year, for instance, May the 1st, I think they released the dioramas May the 1st, right? Or maybe even before, a couple of days before that. And then, however, in the night between, or in the morning of May the 4th, the UCS set last year, that was the Land Speeder, got available. So this year it's different. It's May the 1st. Lego is using their new scheme here by means you need to be, in quotes, a VIP customer, which basically means you need an online shop account. And if you have that, then you can order in the online shop. What a surprise. You can order the set already May the 1st. So that's the biggest difference. Next to that, of course, we have gift with purchases, a very small one. This year, this is an X-Wing. That's basically an X-Wing. That's basically a polybag. And then you have the gift with purchase, and in this case, starting from $150 US. And Europe, I think it's 150 euros. Maybe it's 140. Nah, I'm not 100% sure. This year, however, it is a Death Star. Yeah, personally, I'm not the biggest fan of this idea by Lego because it is just a simple set, if you will. There's no minifigure included like we had last year, but also the years before we had these beautiful dioramas, like the one on Tatooine, which I really liked. And this year you just, have a Death Star, which is basically a globe in gray. And I keep repeating myself, but I think I've said in the past, I don't think that a Death Star is a good thing for brick, to have it brick built. It's just, it's a sphere, and this is something that bricks don't go very well with. Of course, you have here the 40 years of Return of the Jedi pad printed piece in there, but on the other hand, you have this in almost every set that is releasing around May the 1st. So personally, I'm a bit underwhelmed by this one, but nevertheless, gift with purchase, comes in a nice box. I guess it's for a collector. It's a nice thing to have. And then next to these two sets that are gift with purchases, why is my browser not talking to me? No, I want to click on this one. So for whatever reason, the Lego store is not talking to me. My website is, but Lego. Oh, here we go. We are back. Next to that, we have double VIP points. However, my understanding is there's a star, there's an asterisk. That is a bad sign. I guess it's not for all of the sets. Last year, at least, it was only for a select range of sets. And I think none of the new sets was actually in the double VIP points. But nevertheless, there are options to earn them, which comes close to a discount of around 10%. I think VIP points are roughly a little bit less, I think, than 5% discount, and twice the VIP points obviously goes then close to 10 points. And then you have at 85 bucks, you get a coin set. Yeah, I think last year it was like a Beskar bar, wasn't it? To put your keys on, and this year we have these coins. Anyhow, that is May the 4th. With that, we are moving on to actual new sets, and here we have now the announcement by LEGO that May the 4th as well. However, I think, yeah, this one is interesting as well. Actually, I haven't checked the US store from LEGO. Yeah, it's quite interesting actually. Here we also have again this so-called VIP early access, which again is almost like a meme. But what I think they have never done before is that they have done a pre-order plus VIP early access. So I have no idea what actually will happen if you now click the pre-order button. Does it mean if you're VIP, they will ship it May the 1st, or does it mean if you pre-order, they ship it May the 4th? However, you can go in as a VIP customer on May the 1st and then order directly without pre-order. I have no idea how smart the system is. To my knowledge, both of these things they have done before, right? They do pre-order from time to time. I've never seen a system behind that. Sometimes they just tell you, hey, the set will be available, whatever. And sometimes they allow you to pre-order, and sometimes they have this VIP early access. So this is the first time I see the combination. Anyhow, somewhere around May the 1st and May the 5th, and May the 4th, you will be able to buy the 43225, the Little Mermaid Royal Clamshell. It has 1,808 pieces, and that is quite a set. And LEGO is asking for $160 US. That's 8.8 cents a piece. I think we have 5 minifigures in here. Like we have this king dude, and we have 3 mermaids, and then we have this evil little lady here, and we have quite a lot of interesting parts in here, right? The lower body part of the mermaid, like the tail and fin and everything, and the king has a different one, and this evil young lady here has a different one as well. So quite a lot of interesting pieces in there. I think this mermaid tail thingy we have seen, for instance, very recently in the Harry Potter tournament set, and I think I've also seen it not long time ago in a video set. I think there was one character who had a mermaid tail like this as well. So not really a new mold, but still a lot, quite a lot of interesting set, or an interesting set of new minifigures nonetheless. Especially really like the king and his crown. That looks really amazing. Anyhow, here you go. The set itself, I think it looks also quite interesting. I mean, Little Mermaid is not really my cup of tea, but I think that is also, I mean, it's maybe a bit on the expensive side for kids, and it's clearly not designed because it has minifigures and not mini dolls, so it's not really the typical Disney theme, if you will, for children's sets. But nevertheless, I think it looks quite great, quite nice. There are a lot of interesting building techniques in here. And yeah, all in all, I think a pretty cool set, and not too expensive, I must say. I think if you can get this one with a nice discount, this could be a real nice set. With that, we are moving on to 2 other sets around Disney and Disney 100 years. This one here, the 43229, will release June the 1st, Ariel's Treasure Chest. It has 370 pieces, and you can buy it for $45 US, or will be able to buy it. And yeah, I think we have seen sets like these before, and it is, of course, again, based on mini dolls, which is much more to be expected compared to the Little Mermaid set that we have seen before. And then you have the Little Mermaid story box, the 43213. It has 134 pieces and costs $20 US. That sounds like a lot, but of course there are not, simply put, there are a lot of very large pieces in there, but not so many traditional pieces. What is interesting here is all the figures. I mean, these are like dolls, but smaller. They're like mini dolls, if you will. I mean, I'm not really into that kind of stuff, so that's why I actually don't have much context. Like, have we seen these before? I'm not sure. But at least my daughter, she is more into Lego Friends, and she never had one of these very tiny dolls like these here. But they look pretty cool, I must say, especially the prints. Again, this beautiful purple, white hairish lady with the dark skirt looks actually pretty cool. I haven't seen the movie, so I don't have much context. With that, we're moving on to the Enchanted Treehouse, the 43215. So this one is not cheap. That's $160 US for just slightly above 1,000 pieces. However, there are a lot of very large pieces in there, and of course a lot of mini dolls. And the idea is, of course, to have, again, in a range of Disney characters, from Tinkerbell to Anna and Elsa to Pocahontas. Mulan is in here. So a lot of different characters, and they're all together in this enchanted treehouse, whatever that is. I must say, well, I can understand to a certain degree at least the pricing, because you have all these large parts and you have so many dolls. I must still say, I mean, considering the price, you're not getting much stuff for it. I think that would be my biggest issue. It doesn't even matter if it's justified or not. The point is, for a lot of money, you're not getting much stuff, right? There's not much kids can do with this. Not much area to play with. And I think this is what my biggest issue with this one is. Of course, the character selection is great, especially if you have kids that are into all of these movies, like big Disney cracks overall, then why not? But nevertheless, I think when it comes to play features and simply size, that is what I find a bit underwhelming for $160. So I'm not sure. Not really my thing. Actually, I would prefer the mermaid set because it just looks like more, even if it has less figures. Anyhow, let's move on to another set, the 43221, 100 Years of Disney Animation Icons. So this is a little bit like an artwork set. It has 1,022 pieces, and Lego is selling it for $60 US. That's 5.9 cents a piece. Doesn't sound like much, but however, there are a lot of small pieces in there, of course, a lot of 1x1 tiles and plates and stuff, so that you can do a little bit of artwork. It's almost more like sketches. Yeah, I must say it's not really my cup of tea. It is a bit too simple. I mean, Lego has done over the years a couple of pretty cool artwork kind of sets. I mean, very recently they did the Van Gogh idea set, which was just amazing. They have done great stuff that you can put on your wall. Even the world map I actually did like, but this one is a bit too simple for my taste. But nevertheless, I mean, if you're into this, I mean, the minifigure, the Mickey minifigure in there is pretty cool. But the rest of the set is a bit too shallow, I should say. Anyhow, with that, we move on to Sonic the Hedgehog, where after the idea set from last year, they are now putting out a lineup of playsets. I think all of them will release August the 1st. Let's get started with the Green Hill Zone Loop Challenge, the 76994, 802 pieces, $100 US. There are a couple of minifigures in there. Sonic is in there. I think they refined Sonic again a little bit. I'm not 100% sure if this is exactly like the one that we had in the idea set, which was actually a refined Sonic figure, because I think they did one before. I'm not even sure anymore which minifigure series or something this was. The original one was part of. Anyhow, they refined it last year for the idea set. So I'm not 100% sure if this is the exact one, or I think there's a few changes are in there. Anyhow, the point here is that, of course, you have this blue ball here, this blue trans blue ball, and you can put Sonic in there, and then you can shoot this thing basically through the loop and through the course. I have actually no idea if it's actually feasible to shoot this thing through this entire course the way it looks here on my monitor right now. If that is even feasible, like, do you have enough thrust in there to do this, to pull this off? But of course, in theory, would be really, really cool to have a very long course. But I mean, as you can see, there are basically no fences on the sideline. So I think the idea is not here to, I don't know, build a several, 10-foot course and you are able to shoot him through it I think he would just go off the rails because there are literally no rails. I think this is what's going to happen. But nevertheless, it could be a fun game to play with. And like I said, in this set, you have already a couple of pretty cool minifigures. Sonic itself is amazing, of course, and yeah, here you go, and you can have a lot of fun. Personally, I prefer this kind of mechanical system compared to, for instance, the Mario game, you know, which is too much electronics for my personal taste. But anyhow, let's move on to Amy's Animal Rescue Island, the 76992. So this seems to be kind of a set on the side. It's not related to this play feature. We will have a second set with this playing capability in a second as well. This one here has 388 pieces and it's $50, which is quite a lot. I mean, there's not so much interesting stuff in there. I mean, yes, you have 2 minifigures and a crab. That's cool. You have a couple of these small animals, but nevertheless, it's a very tiny thing for a lot of money. If you ask me. But even worse is this one here, I think, Tails Workshop and Tornado Plane, the 76991. It has only 376 pieces. Yes, again, 2 minifigures, and it's $40 US. That is a lot for a small plane, a little bit of diorama, if you will. Interesting will be, I mean, there are a couple of interesting prints in here. I think this slope is printed for sure. I think they can't put stickers on the regular slopes due to the structure, right? And I guess a couple of other prints in here as well. So from that point of view, that is nice, but nevertheless, not much set for the money. What I would actually prefer, for only $35, you get the 76990. It has 292 pieces, yes, but you have all the playing capabilities in there. So you have this kind of buzzer-like catapult to, again, shoot Sonic through a course. I mean, the course is much smaller compared to the large set, but I mean, entscheidend is you have the ball, right? You have Sonic, you have I will call it a catapult. Anyhow, you have everything you need to build your own course. And I think that is exactly what I, at least as a parent, would be going for. If I'm looking for a smaller set to buy. Personally, I would prefer this one, even if it has only 1 minifigure compared to the 2 previous one. With that, we are done with Lego. Obviously, everybody is excited, at least I am, around May the 4th, the most important holiday of the year. Of course, that was wrong. But anyhow, let's move on to PanBo. PanBo, again, seems to be the brand that they at least use over here in Europe. It's a bit I think I've talked about this before. It's a bit strange. So what is actually happening is, if you look at these 3 sets, and basically the news of today is that the Forest Cottage, the last one, the 77072, is now available over here in Europe as well. So this is availability of a PanBo set. These 3 sets, so the 770, 73, 71, and 72, all 3 of those you can also buy as a MOC set with a different number. So different packaging, has a MOC logo on it instead of a PanBo logo, but next to that, everything is identical. And I have actually no idea why they do this. I mean, you could argue, okay, maybe the idea is that MOC is like the brand for, I don't know, the Chinese or the Asian market, and PanBo is the brand for the European market, but for the Office set, they use PanBo in both regions as a brand, and still there's MOC, which they are also using in Asia and also using in Europe. So I have no idea. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. This set has 1,643 pieces, and over here in Europe, you pay just $60. That's 3.6 cents a piece, including tax. That's quite a bargain. With that, we're moving on to Wange, and here we have Mont Saint-Michel now as an announcement, again by European retailer BlueBrixx in this case. Which is not uncommon, especially Wange architecture sets. A lot of announcements come here through Europe. I guess this is a big market for Wange. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't seen this one in China yet. We are talking about the 6233. So, like I said, Mont Saint-Michel, of course, this very famous cemetery over here in France, in the Normandy, like the title already says. However, if you're interested in that, it could be interesting to also take a look at the BlueBrixx set, which is quite interesting. It's the same building, more or less, or the same island, I should rather say, but BlueBrixx is using 3,000 pieces for this, and of course they have an entirely different color scheme. So no matter what you prefer, I think these are very different approaches to architecture. So the BlueBrixx architecture sets usually use very small pieces, sometimes almost crazy building techniques. They are very hard to build sometimes, especially Mont Saint-Michel. I haven't built it myself, but I know a couple of folks who have, and what I've been told, this is quite a challenge. But of course, it looks beautiful, especially if you're into, let's say, a bit more interesting brick build designs. And then Wange, of course, with only 1,392 pieces, goes for a much simpler approach. And as you can see here as well, I think it's going to be larger. It has a lot of, let's say, large panels and larger pieces in there. And of course, it's much more colorful. So depending on what you prefer, I think there is a Mont Saint-Michel, is what I want to say, for everyone. And then we have, and here I'm pretty sure I will pronounce this entirely wrong, a Laoyun mountain. This is actually a cemetery, I think, as well, right? On a mountain in China, I think. I mean, I don't have that much context. I read a little bit about it, but let's not go there with all of my with my lack of knowledge. But of course, it's a very famous scenery that you can see on a lot of pictures when it comes to China. And it's kind of, and I think I've not seen this before from Wange, it's kind of a 2-in-1 set, by means you can change the coloring of the roof a little bit, like snow-capped or not, just a golden roof. The set has 1,692 pieces. Is that the largest Wange set I've ever seen? Not 1% sure. Let me actually check. Oh no, they have done all these pictures that are in the Basilius Cathedral in Moscow. Okay, I'm all wrong. So many sets I've talked about are larger than this one, like almost every. Okay, a lot of sets that I've actually covered in this show. So yes, I can't count. That is now confirmed. Anyhow, 1,692 pieces. We do not have a price yet. BlueBrixx has just announced that they will get this thing in stock. With that, we're moving on to MOCs of the week, because we have covered all the set updates. And now let's go through a couple of MOCs that I have found on Rubricable that have been published in the last week. And this actually here is not even a selection. I just picked one of the Mandalorian homesteads, because actually I think in the last week 4 or 5 of these bad boys have been published by different designers. So I guess a lot of folks excited by season 3 ending. And I think, yeah, personally, I mean, I don't want to spoil too much. Let's put that way. This house is entering the scene end of the last episode, and there's not much going on. It's just a house. So I think it's not a big spoil to look at this right now. And actually, the only thing you can see in the last episode is basically what you see right now. So you have this pond, the frog, those two are important, by the way. And then you have the house, and you see this for, I don't know, 10 seconds. And that's about that. And you have the Mandalorian sitting on the porch in front. So a lot of folks got very excited, and I can understand why, because season 3 was really, really, really amazing. I'm personally a big fan, especially of the Bo-Katan character, always have. And of course, it's very well represented right now. And in season 3, it was just amazing. And yeah, there's so much cool stuff in there. But anyhow, I'm not going to spoil you. But here we go. If you have seen this and are as much or as excited as I am, and clearly Tapir Tech, the designer here, is, then and you always want to build this house, here you go. This actually is free of charge, the manual, but there are also a couple of others, like I said. And I'm pretty sure these 4 or 5 that have been released in the last week are not the last ones. More stuff around Mandalorian season 3 is going to come on Rubricable. Pretty sure about that. With that, we're moving on to an amazing design by BlueBrixx, who is actually working a lot on 1x800 scale skyscrapers. BlueBrixx has actually released quite a lot of these. Here we have now the One World Trade Center. Like I said, 1x800 scale, and that's actually the scale, that's my understanding, of Legos, and I think this is what BlueBrixx is pointing out here. It's the same scale as 21046. So actually here you have a picture of the Empire State Building by Lego, and the idea is that this MOC, all of these MOCs actually, BlueBrixx has done multiple of these, are all compatible with the Empire State Building, which I think is a pretty cool idea. And of course, I mean, those two, I guess, are the most famous skyscrapers in New York, right? Maybe together with Rockefeller, but Rockefeller is, again, different size. But nevertheless, I think those two look really, really cool together. Actually, it's very hard, I found to, on these pictures, because the resolution is not that good, how it's made. It looks like that this is like the entire blue part here is done in, at least that's how it looks for me here, in a snot technique with plates. This is how it looks like, which would be amazing, and also explain why you need 3,356 pieces for this one. But it looks really cool. Like I said, BlueBrixx has done multiple. There's the Type P 101, the Petronas towers, which look amazing, and of course you have 30 Rock in here, which I think should be a very, should go very well together. So the Holy Trinity and those three, I think would represent Manhattan quite well. 1x800 scale, that means it will not fit with the BlueBrixx skyscraper line, which is 1x500 scale, so a lot larger. Actually, BlueBrixx has a Rockefeller or 30 Rock or Rockefeller Center, whatever you may call it, set out there. Actually, technically 30 Rock or 30 Rockefeller Plaza is the correct one for this building, because that's the actual address. Rockefeller Center is the entire block. Actually, it's 2 blocks, I think. Anyhow, or 1.5. BlueBrixx has this as a set as well. I think with twice the piece count, because it is a lot larger. But I think nevertheless, BlueBrixx has done an amazing job here, if this is your cup of tea. And then we're moving on to to a very interesting approach. Anderson Lego Art has done or published a modification of the Hulkbuster. I mean, a lot of folks were quite unhappy with the Hulkbuster, I believe for very good reason. Because if you look at this picture, what happens when you throw an additional 1,500 pieces into the set, and this is what Anderson Lego Art has done, 1,513 pieces, and as a result you can see a Hulkbuster that makes a lot more sense than the original Lego set. And actually this is what the Hulkbuster should have been, and for 550 bucks, this is what definitely should have been. And I think it shows. I mean, obviously I have no idea, how well this thing works, how stable it is, how robust it is. But I think what I really like about it, first of all, it's a great design. I really like the Hulkbuster here. Still, I would say it's still has a way to go to be like it is in the movie, but already it looks like a Hulkbuster that makes a lot more sense. And I think this is the set that Lego should have built, and when they figured out they couldn't do it, I'm a big believer actually in case of the Hulkbuster, they should have just let it go, because I think they didn't do themselves a big favor, the Marvel team overall, with this Hulkbuster, especially for 550 bucks. I think that was a bit crazy. I think this is one of the I still believe one of the craziest sets that Lego has done in recent years. For me, even with 400 bucks, I think a lot of people would have said this is expensive. And 550 was just crazy. I mean, if you just compare it to Rivendell, it's the gap of value in this set is so big. But that's just me. Anyhow, I think Anderson Lego Art. So if you're really into the Hulkbuster, you may already have the set. You are a bit disappointed, etc. Just throw these additional pieces in here and you get a much more well-balanced and round Hulkbuster. Anyhow, with that, we're moving on to something big. Pontus German MOCs has published a MOC with 16,713 pieces. So that's quite a thing. It's the Divine Tower from Elden Ring. I've never played Elden Ring, and also none of the other games from this studio. Actually, I'm pretty sure I remember this tower from the first game that they did. Didn't they have a very similar tower? And was this not one of the first challenging fights? Anyhow, it's called Divine Tower from Elden Ring. Like I said, I do not have much context, but I can tell you it has a lot of pieces and it's very big. Personally, I would have preferred a bit more, I don't know, with almost 17,000 pieces, I would have preferred a bit more detail. And there's also, there's no indication of an interior. This is what if there's no interior, then I would definitely miss that. But yeah, I can't actually tell for sure because it's not in here. Nevertheless, pretty cool design. And I mean, you have to love this stuff, right? 17,000 pieces. There's even a manual. I have no idea if you actually can build this thing, or if maybe it's just going to collapse under its own weight, but nevertheless, pretty cool design. With that, we're moving on to something that I did not really understand, but I had to talk about it anyhow, because I think it looks really, really cool. The description says it's the corridor of the Tentive 4. And I don't know, because for me, it does not look like the corridor of the Tentive 4. The title says it's a Death Star corridor, which is interesting and makes a bit more sense if I look at the design. And then you have Boba Fett in there, which I can't recall from being ever in the Death Star in any of the movies. So I have no idea what this is, but I guess maybe it's like a cool joke by Sareno90, but nevertheless, I do like the MOC. The entire design is pretty cool. The details are there. The building techniques I really like. 2,961 pieces. You get this MOC for just $10. Obviously, you have to buy all the minifigures extra to that. Yeah. Why not put Boba Fett in there and then call it the Death Star corridor in the Tentive 4? Maybe that's the thing. Anyhow, with that, we are moving on to another pirate MOC by Legate of Legion. This time it's called the Soldier's Fortress, Pirates World 1. I'm not 100% sure what he means with Pirates World 1. Maybe that's a kickoff to a new series. Not 100% sure, because of course he has done a lot of pirate stuff before, which is all great and amazing. I mean, I really, and again here, I like the design. There's so much detail in there. It's so modern in so many ways when it comes to building techniques and detail. At the same time, you clearly see what it is. This is Lego. This, you know, it has the Lego design language, like the design genes, if you will. Inside, you have that feeling, but at the same time, it's very detailed, very modern. It is what I think a lot of people would love Lego to do nowadays, right? If Lego would ever do an 18+ pirate set, this is what it should look like. At least that's what I always think when I look at Legate of Legion's lineup. And I mean, he has done a lot of, they have done a lot of interesting pirate sets. You can see these here as well, but also soldiers, other castles around the pirate series. Really like the designs. And I would actually, if I had the spice, I would definitely look into this one and building these, I think. And I believe also they would go together quite nicely with the medieval, with the Pier Inn by Funhole. Of course, Barracuda Bay from Lego would fit quite well. I think you could also fit the 3-in-1 Creator pirate ship. All of these things go very well together. And yeah, here you go, by Legate of Legion. And with that, we are closing the show. I hope you liked it. For those of you who watch this on YouTube, please leave a like or comment, or even better, subscribe to the channel. For you podcast listeners, please leave a review, comment, or like on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to the show. Thanks for listening. See you next week.